What's up, guys? It's Kyle here with Body Talk. Today we're going to be kneeling to improve overhead mobility. We've got Andrew here on the table. He's also a doctor of physical therapy, so he's pretty in tune with what his body needs and what's going on with his body. He's been noticing some limitations in his overhead mobility, some tightness in some specific muscle groups. He's an avid golfer who also likes to lift weights, so you kind of combine the shortening and tightening you get with lifting, but also needing the proper mobility to get the right motor pattern with the golf swing in order to generate the maximum force. You kind of run into some problems, and so that's his driving force to get dry needle today. Also having some trouble with some lifts that are overhead, and so that if that's something you are struggling with, then this is something that you might benefit from too. The four muscles we're going to be needling to improve overhead mobility are going to be the teres major, which I just stuck the needle in, about to hit another needle into that teres major. The latissimus dorsi will be the next muscle up, also known as the lat. And then we're also going to be hitting the infraspinatus, which is a rotator cuff muscle. And then we're also going to hit the posterior deltoid. Now, by all means, if you are a therapist who is dry needling, always make it more specific to what your patient needs. This is just a general guideline of how we thought it would be best to improve overhead mobility. See, they're hitting the lat. But we know that the lat is probably the main muscle that's going to limit overhead mobility. The teres major has the same exact muscle action as the lat, so it really doesn't make sense to needle one without the other. Why not? Key here, you can kind of see me pulling his lat off the rib cage there, needling away from the rib cage. Keep in mind we are over a lung field, so you definitely want to needle away from that rib cage. And he's got pretty good muscle bulk there, so not a huge risk of penetrating that lung field, but you don't want to risk it by any means. Not sure if you noticed, but when we hit that teres major with that second needle, he did get a muscle twitch. All that means is that we hit a trigger point, and so we hit a really tight spot in that muscle. It caused a chemical release of acetylcholine, which caused that muscle twitch, and then in turn relieved muscle tightness there. Now the next muscle we're going to be needling is going to be the infraspinatus. If you did notice toward the beginning of the video, the way we found the teres major, I got him to externally rotate into my hand, an isometric contraction that pops out the teres minor. We go a step below that, and then we can palpate that teres major. Now with the infraspinatus that I'm going in here right now, you just kind of find that spine of the scapula and then go a step below that. If you want to palpate that bottom border of the scapula, you can do that as well to make sure you're in the infraspinatus. But by all means, palpate and feel where your patient's feeling tight at. We kind of palpated around on him, and we, found a couple tight spots, and we hit it. I think we went with the 40 millimeter needle in the infraspinatus. Had plenty of room to spare there. Could have probably done a 50, but I think we hit bone maybe as we bottom out that 40, and then we backed back out. And then we went with the 50 in both the teres major and the lat. If anything, go with the bigger needle on the teres major, because you have to go through the lat to get to the teres major. That lat's covering that entire back, basically. But I feel like we did a good job of getting through it to the teres major. Hard to see right now, but we're also needling the posterior deltoid. He was kind of feeling some tightness there. Could definitely limit some overhead mobility if that was an issue. Next, we're going to be plugging him up to some electricity here. Each specific muscle group is going to have its own lead, so every muscle can have its own intensity of electricity. This is all going to be patient tolerance here. We like to say we want it to be strong but comfortable. Strong enough to get a good effect, but not too strong that it's painful. You're going to be getting that same effect that you would get with a TENS unit or E-stim, where it kind of plays on that nerve pathway and inhibits that pain signal. And so, but we're getting it directly into the muscle belly. And so you can see here, we got them going. Good muscle jump there in the lat and teres major and working up. You can see the same jump there in that infraspinatus. And then on down to the posterior deltoid. We'll kind of zoom in here. Kind of see those needles twitching there. Getting some good relaxation effect. You can kind of see toward the back there how it's flexing that lat. You can almost see where the lat runs on his back there, and just see the angle it's pulling and how that muscle runs all the way back down toward the pelvis. So coming around, kind of see the infraspinatus, kind of get the side view. You definitely want a needle on the side, because if you needle directly toward that rib cage, you're going to be going toward a lung field, and you don't want to do that. Pretty good shot there, and that's why we're all on the side there. The lat is a very big muscle, but that's where you want to hit it to be as safe as possible. And so that's it, guys. I appreciate you watching. Dry needling is a great way to get some really quick relaxation effect and mobility. A lot of times general stretching is not going to be as effective with these big muscles like the lat. Again, we're penetrating directly in the muscle belly, so we're getting, max effect here. We're gaining mobility as quickly as possible. Something that you can't really get with general stretching. We're getting all types of chemical release that's helping with relaxation of that specific muscle group. And so if this is the type of content you like to see, please like and subscribe.